pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will move on into our consensus agenda.
So I move we approve the vouchers who were written last month, and that totals $518,189.75. And there were also 2 payrolls last month for a total of $456,721.81. After taking off the voids, we have a grand total expenditures of $974,219.56. Along with that, I move we approve the minutes from our last meeting.
I'll second all that.
Been moved by Steve, seconded by Wes. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Patrons' comments. Any comments?
Questions for the good of the cause?
Yeah.
You said the first was the consensus?
Do you want me to spell that for you, Anna?
No,
Okay. I figured so, but just in case.
It works.
Do you want us to explain that?
Yeah, if you could please.
Sure. It's what we do every month, and it would include the financials, the minutes. It's just kind of a concise agenda item at the very start.
All right.
Anything else to add?
All the payrolls.
Yeah.
The minutes that you don't want to regurgitate every little teeny tiny expenditure and all of that stuff, it just lumps it in together.
So instead of reading all of your debts and expenses and outgoing, or see what else, outstanding checks, the CDs, everything, it's just lumped together. Any other good questions? There's another time at the end of the meeting to ask questions again. So if you think of any, there's another opportunity. All right, we will move on to personnel.
All right. I would like to recommend the approval of Miss Lena Hostrauser as a 5th grade girls basketball volunteer coach.
I heard Kevin, I heard Steve first. So moved by Kevin, seconded by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
The next 5 are dealing with baseball, so we're going to put those all together. So Mark Elliott as the varsity baseball coach, Brian Watkins as JV volunteer assistant, Steve Watkins as junior high baseball coach, Paul Williams as junior high volunteer, Brandon Young as junior high volunteer assistant baseball coach, Robbie Pope as the varsity assistant baseball coach, and Jeremy Riffle as varsity volunteer assistant. I don't know that I can recommend myself, but I just put it in there. So I would recommend the approval of those.
Move we approve all these baseball coaches.
Second.
Been moved by Ken.
7 and not 5 though.
Who's counting?
4, 5, 7. Been moved by Ken, seconded by Wes. Kevin.
Kevin.
Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
All right. I'd recommend the approval of Lisa Beamish as the high school track supervisor. If you remember, within our collective bargaining agreement, we're just simply asking for an individual to be kind of the go-to person, the liaison, in case Rodney can't make it to 3 sports at one time. Also take pictures, give a short little readout of what happened at that event so we can share that with patrons.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Kevin, seconded by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
So I'm going to apologize ahead of time. I'm going to screw this name up. So we're super excited. Ms. Haynes obviously is with child and is going to be taking maternity leave here real soon. So we actually found Miss Wallace. I'm going to leave it at that. I called Nate earlier today to say, how do I pronounce that again? So I would recommend her as the high school Spanish teacher covering for Mrs. Haynes.
Been moved by Steve, seconded by Ken. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
I'd recommend the approval of Susan Dietzel as the drama director for the 2022-23 musical production.
Second.
Been moved by Wes, seconded by Kevin. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
Recommend the approval of Robin Reuter as the volunteer piano accompanist for the choir.
So moved.
Been moved by Kevin, seconded by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
Recommend the approval of Ralph Berkeypile as a truck/trailer driver for the band performances.
So moved.
Been moved by Steve, seconded by Ken. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
This is a new item. I would like to recommend the approval of non-certified staff members' holiday pay for President's Day. We have missed 2 days this school year. At this time, we don't feel the need to make those days up. However, we do feel it's appropriate that our teachers get paid, our non-certs get paid, our certified get paid, but this would pay them for their day as holiday pay, so they don't necessarily have to take a personal day to take that day off or take it as a non-paid day. So,
I like the idea, and move we approve that. Second that.
Moved by Steve, seconded by Wes.
How much that's gonna cost?
well,
How much is that
so
approximate cost of the President's Day for non-certified?
One more time,
President's Day non-certified staff cost?
cost? Don't have that number. I can get it for you.
yeah, I guess the
I'm just
conversation.
kinda curious.
Yeah, a conversation we had was the fact is that there's 2 days that we haven't paid, so in the end,
That's
the
right.
impact on the budget is still negative.
I budgeted for them for 180 days, and since we canceled 2, obviously I'm only paying them 178, and so this is adding one of them back in there, so.
Yeah, so it won't have any impact.
Yeah, thanks you guys for doing that, I know they appreciate that.
Did we already vote on that?
Nope,
We haven't voted, but we had a motion and a second.
Any other discussion? Yeah.
No, I didn't move it.
No, you
I
did.
seconded
You
it.
seconded.
Steve
Any
moved
other
it.
discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
All right, I recommend the approval of paternity leave for Mr. Shirk.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Kevin, seconded by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
And last but not least, with a lot of regret, I recommend the retirement, the approval of the retirement for Mr. Bruce Gephardt. I'll say more of that in my core values, but just a model citizen, servant leader, role model, mentor. We were able to, share all those things with him personally in our leadership meeting the other day, but just an unbelievable man. And we're looking for the same characteristics in the person we hire next, so I
Yep.
recommend that approval.
How many years has he been in that position?
He's been here since 2012, so 2014 he became the director.
Yeah.
So 8 years is the maintenance director, and just
And it's effective at the end of June.
just an amazing guy.
Yeah.
Beginning of June, I want to say like June 1st, 12th, something like that. No, we wanted to make sure this took care. So the reason we did that, obviously this month will allow for that timing to happen and hopefully have somebody here multiple weeks with him and following him.
I moved Ken Miller. No.
That wasn't
the
recommendation.
That wasn't.
I move we approve that retirement.
Yes, second.
Okay, it's been moved by Steve, seconded by Kevin, with regrets.
And just one other comment, you said he's been in that role for 8 years, it certainly doesn't seem like it, which, that's probably a good sign.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, just, there wasn't a thing that Bruce wouldn't say, you know what, I'll look into it, I'll try to take care of it.
yeah.
And in our spot, that's pretty,
All while dealing with COVID.
pretty awesome. Yeah, all the, things that we had to
He said
do.
there's some amazing things he's had to work
Yeah,
through.
Yep.
absolutely.
All right,
Yep,
any
he's
other
a great guy.
discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
All right, we're gonna begin, if you're okay with this, board, we're gonna go ahead and ask Brooklyn Wilhite and Reagan Yoder to present to us, on an item that we will be, recommending, or that I'll be recommending here shortly, but we would love to hear a little bit more about that, because it is something new, and I think as they spoke to Mr. McCann, That was one of the things that we said, you know what, this is new. We'd love to hear a little bit about that, so sorry to make your palms sweat, but here we go. Right? Feel free to stand and give us your presentation. Oh, sorry, can I hold on just a second?
He's gonna make you have a mic.
You don't have to sing, though.
My name is Brooklyn Wilhite. And I'm Reagan Yoder. And we're representing Miss Knisley's management class for a trip that we planned as a class all together. This trip is to show us like the different aspects behind different jobs that we wouldn't usually see on a day-to-day basis. This would be like the jobs at the zoo and Cedar Point. And the trip is currently planned for May 14th through 15th, which is a Sunday to Monday. And then although we would be having fun as well, but we would be learning, as I said, the different jobs and aspects that we wouldn't normally see around here. And some of these careers actually did interest a couple of the people in the class. And this has also made us bond as a class together because we've planned the entire thing and we typed out an itinerary. And yeah.
So on Sunday, we will leave the high school, and then we will be going to the zoo in Toledo, Ohio. We will look at jobs they offer from management and ticket sales to zookeeping and engineering. Monday, we will go to Cedar Point to experience a one-hour tour and behind-the-scenes explanation of how the park works. And then we are currently raising money by working concessions whenever it is possible, and then we are also looking into other fundraising as well.
How many students are planning on going? 12 students. Gotcha. I'm a little biased being from Ohio, but the Toledo Zoo is pretty awesome, right? Cedar Point, I'm not a ride guy, but I hear it's great too. So, any questions, board?
I thought that sounded really good.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
You
I
did a
will
good
go
job,
ahead.
girls.
You want any chaperone ones?
I get it. Motion sick. I don't like zoos.
It does sound like fun, though.
I'll probably be Clanton or something, so.
I will go ahead and begin our other business by making the recommendation for our high school management fundamentals class to go to Ohio and Cedar Point and the Toledo Zoo.
So moved.
Been moved by Kevin, seconded by Ken. Any discussion? All in
I
favor?
think it's great that it's a
Yeah.
class project,
Yeah.
and you guys are thinking outside the box a little bit.
It was
Oh,
worth the
that's
sweat.
gonna have
Good
fun.
job. So,
All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Yeah.
Tell the other Ken that we missed him.
all right, the next item is the school calendar for the 23-24 school year. I did put this at your place setting. I do want to draw your attention of a couple of the dates, just a little bit of an explanation if anybody would ask. Obviously, looking at a 180-day timeline, trying to start as late as possible and get out as early as possible with breaks in between. It's always a difficult task to kind of come up with a calendar. So December, I presented the first calendar. We did make a few tweaks, which I'm going to point out a little bit. But this is kind of where we landed. I do want to note the October 9th date. If you remember last year, that was parent-teacher conferences and our board meeting night. You see that it's just yellow now. Part of the reason we moved that to the Thursday was the fact is that if you notice the purple 6, October 6th, that is actually when grades are submitted or the last day of the 9 weeks. And that turnaround, Wes, you probably remember some of that turnaround from posting those grades to preparing for parent-teacher conferences was just a really quick turnaround. It was an unintended consequence that happened last year because we were thinking, let's try to have a full week of instruction, or excuse me, not an interrupted week of instruction. But when it was all said and done, it just caused a lot of difficulty trying to prepare those for the parent-teacher conferences that took place. So you'll notice that change. We are moving that from a Monday to making it a Thursday. I will tell you the conversation that surrounded that was, does that make people want to leave early for fall break? right? So that's a reality that we hope they will come to those parent-teacher conferences. They'll be well attended like they have been in the past. I know Mr. McCann was looking into, that is the week of volleyball sectional, I believe. So that is usually a hit and miss, and we really don't know that date until probably the week before or when the draw happens and who's seated where and who plays. So we're going to leave it on there. We're going to take the chance on that right now and adjust later if necessary. The other date I want to draw our attention to is the March 29th date. If you look at your calendars, it's just one of those years that is actually Good Friday, is in March. Actually, the next year, I want to say Good Friday is like April 13th or something like that. So it's like 3 weeks later. So we did remove the 29th. If you look at the 29th, it would be after we have just been out of school for spring break for 7 days, right? We would come back 3 days, and then we would have the 29th off again if it was Good Friday. So I want to make sure everybody understands I'm not trying to take Good Friday off of that. It's very, very important to me and what that day signifies. However, it just didn't make a ton of sense. The fact is that we're going to come back 3 days after spring break and then take that Friday off, okay? That will be back on our calendar next year when that is in April. Obviously, a little bit better placed in April with another long weekend, so to speak, 3 weeks, or in that second to last month of the school year. Another topic of discussion, if you care to hear, was when do we take off Christmas break? It was consensus among the Triton Teachers Association that we go ahead and go that full week before Christmas, and then that actually allows 2 almost full weeks of vacation. So you see the 25th through the 4th would be, our kids would get off all the way through that second week, right, the 5th. Our staff would come back on the Friday, the 5th, January 5th, and then we would have kids in session and or school in session on January 8th. Once again, the Christmas and the whole weekend, leap year, all that fun is it does create a little bit of crazy there. So I'll entertain any questions that you may have, but that is kind of where we landed for a recommendation.
How did spring break end up being? Usually it's the last full week of March, and I was wondering what happened to the week before that.
This year.
It hasn't been for.
Yeah, this year it isn't.
Oh, it isn't? I haven't looked at this
No.
year.
There was conversation to move that to the last week of March. Yeah, but it's always been the second to last week.
Okay.
Typically, everybody else's is that next week,
Right.
a lot of them. What we didn't want to do is move it just for the Good Friday and then move it back. So we just decided to keep it where it was for consistency's sake. A lot of the businesses in the area, especially UPS, need to get those times and when they're taking vacation off. So we always feel a little bit of the push from them to say, hey, are we going to keep a consistent calendar? I did make the recommendation last week as we met with the association to possibly next year come up with a 2-year calendar. So it's not an every year discussion and working through all that we would just come up with a consistent calendar 2 years in a row and throw that out there so people had plenty of time to plan accordingly. So one thing that's not taken into account here is if we get waiver days, I will once again apply for that, but we never know that until August. You do notice the red circles, those are the 2-hour delay days for professional development. So we did keep those in there, feeling as if that's been a beneficial thing for more timely professional development. If there's any other questions, I'll be glad to take them. If not, I would recommend this for our calendar for the 23-24 school year.
Thank you for all your hard work on that. I move we approve the calendar as presented.
Second it.
Moved by Wes, seconded by Ken. Any discussion?
I just want to echo what Wes said. Thanks for
It's never,
working on that in the
There's a lot of work behind the scenes on that.
any other discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
All right, I'd like to recommend the approval of the purchase of a warmer and freezer for the elementary cafeteria from Central Restaurant Products. I believe those quotes were in your packet, so you could see those. So we're just getting to the point where there's been more fixes than we feel is best moving forward, so we're gonna go ahead and purchase a new unit.
I move we approve that.
Second.
So moved by Steve, seconded by Kevin.
Does
What's
this come out of, food service?
Yes.
and what's happening with the old warmers? Are they being traded back, or they're just
I think they're shot.
a shot?
The pass-through right now that we have is one side's heat, one side's cool, and the insulation that separates
Seals,
them is broken down so much that they're sitting there fighting each other,
Okay,
and so we're replacing those, not with the exact same unit, with two different units, a heater and a cooler,
cool.
and so we're getting two of each of those to replace the two that we have right now, so.
Any other discussion? All in favor, or, I guess, yes, we have Steve and Kevin. All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
All right, the last recommendation under other business is the Indiana Education Service Center School Food Co-op Agreement. Just allows us to get commodities and allow the service center to help with those quantities.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Kevin, seconded by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0. On to superintendent report.
All right, continuous improvement. Today's continuous improvement core value goes to congratulate and thank Bruce Gephardt for his dedication to Triton School Corporation as a maintenance and grounds employee and our maintenance director since 2014. His servant leadership, mentorship, and others over self attitude is what we appreciate about Bruce and what we hope to find in our next maintenance director. A lot of time, effort, and customer service goes into this position, and Bruce has been second to none. So I just want to reiterate the thanks for that. Shared leadership, I actually sent you an email today. Triton Elementary has put strategic plan documentation together, so you can take a look at that just to show how we are living out our strategic plan. The high school is doing the same thing, but I just shared you an example of that to kind of show how we're documenting that and continuing to kind of keep that at the top of our conversations. Cole reminded me that he was part of that process, and he noticed our core values back here on the wall. So, yeah, good stuff. Trying to continuously improve. Under our shared leadership as well, last week was National Counselors Week, and I think I speak for all of us that we are incredibly grateful for their service, for making connections with local businesses, internships, CTE possibilities for our students. Tours the last 2 weeks produced nearly 75 students wanting to either be in career in technical education or an internship next year. Thank you for meeting individually with students, recognizing the students when committing to a secondary institution or a job placement, for working through difficult times with our students, continuing to invest in others like they will tomorrow as they invite nearly 40 local counselors to Triton School Corporation for a counseling roundtable discussion. So several people coming to just encourage them and continue to talk about the current trends in counseling and how they can continue to build a network there. So good stuff. Social responsibility. Mr. McCann, Mr. McFarland, Officer Watkins, and I had a good meeting with the Kosciuszko Sheriff's Department designees to discuss school safety and how we can continue to partner to keep our students safe. We'll continue to work on these partnerships that will lead to more training and being more prepared as a county and a school. I want to thank Sierra Hawley and Cheyenne Hawley, Brooke Kitch for representing Triton in the last weekend's Dancing with the Stars for the Neighborhood Center. It's my understanding that they raised approximately $120,000.
We got up to 149,000.
Is that right? That's awesome. So just thank them for being part of that and being part of the entertainment there. Accountability. We talked a little bit about this last month. The fire marshal revisited last week, and both the high school and the elementary passed inspection without fines or incident. Thank you to our building level leaders and Mr. Gephardt for taking this seriously and making the needed corrections. High expectations. We talked a little bit about this at the leadership meeting of just wanting to, and I think Christine shared some data on this, but just thank our substitutes for stepping in this year. This year we've had a significant decrease in the positions that have been left open because we weren't able to fill, which just means we don't have to have administrators in those classrooms to take care of that. So this has to happen even when our teachers are out of the building. So I want to thank the substitute teachers and volunteers for their role in helping Triton School Corporation maintain high expectations and standards in the classroom. It was shared at our last leadership meeting how this situation has improved, and we're very thankful for that. That being said, we're always looking for good people who want to positively invest in kids to substitute in our buildings. For the alignment and evidence-based decision-making, we make decisions after carefully considering the most compelling research. That being said, Triton staff will be working on professional development on Thursday for our final delayed start day of the year, so that's the 16th. We will have a 2-hour delay. This day will be used to continue to work together to come up with alignment solutions for math data, trend data, and research on interventions and brainstorming, and the high school will be working on their instructional model. Triton School Corporation, this is just to reiterate this for anybody that might be watching, and it's also been posted that we will be on a 2-hour delay schedule on Thursday, February 16th, to allow for this PD to take place and allow our students to sleep in. You're welcome. Cole. And all the other ones that give me a hard time when I don't delay school. So, last but not least, I just want to give a few congratulations, and I apologize, building levels, for taking all your stuff. But these are things that we've posted, and just it's been a positive month. Elijah Cox on making it to semi-state, giving it his all. We're so proud of his accomplishments, and even more proud of the young man that he has become. Vincent Prater and Isai Lemler on qualifying for the freshman and sophomore state wrestling competition that took place all day yesterday. Triton cheerleaders in the first place performance on Saturday as they had a Triton invite, a very successful event. Kimberlyn Potter for being selected as the winner of the Learn More Indiana Scholarship Contest. She'll receive $5,000 to go towards her College Choice 529 account, so well on her way to paying off a little college debt. That's awesome. Aiden Ford for representing Triton in the precision machining class, continuing to rack up certifications. Mitchell Powell, Pierce Brookins, Brady Snyder for passing the ASE tests in the automotive program. They passed multiple tests, and I think Pierce maybe passed 3 of those. So that's just awesome for them. I continue to love sharing the Artist of the Month and Trojan Pride t-shirt winners from the elementary school. And I want to congratulate, since we've met last, Coach Groves on his 300th win as the Triton varsity boys basketball coach. This milestone was achieved with a win versus Culver on January 13th. So just a lot of good stuff, and we hope to continue to see that. Be happy to answer any questions.
With that, we'll have patrons' comments. Any patrons' comments? Anything that we've discussed this evening that you have questions on?
Concerning Bruce Gephardt and his retirement, are you looking to hire inside of the organization or corporation or for an outside hire?
So we have to post that both internally, and we will post that externally as well. So great question. But just as if a teacher, we would need to hire a teacher, we would do that both internally and externally and make sure we're getting the best candidate for that.
Any other questions? Don't be shy. Now's your time to ask good ones. No? All right. With that, we will go on to building reports.
I'm stuck in the back.
Thank you. So as far as the elementary goes, I have to tell you a story. I don't normally do this, but last week we had 4 new students come in from one family, and that's not normal that we have maybe that many on one day, but we were looking through and they're coming on the bus the first day, kindergarten, 2nd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grader. And when they came in the door, I told them I would greet them. I told the mom, I'll greet them at the door, make sure they get to breakfast, and then we'll help them all find their classrooms. And they got off Mr. Kenneth's bus and they said, yep, they're coming to the door. So they show up and they come right in, big smiles on their faces. And the fifth grader said, we're the new kids. And he just looked so excited to be here. And I said, welcome to Triton, come on and let's get you going. I said, I'm Mrs. Cook, and we hadn't met because they weren't even able to come in for a tour. And we hadn't even gotten to their seats before another boy looked at me that's in second grade and said, are these the new kids? And I said, yes, I believe this is Kyle. He's in your class. He goes, I got Kyle. I'll take him where to go. And he just took him off and went to get served, took him to the lunchroom. And it was just so good to see other kids. And every class was so excited to see who was going to be in their class. That was on Friday. And then Monday, I saw them again in the hallway. And Preston looked at me right away and he said, tell me your name again. And I feel like I'm talking to a 35-year-old. And I said, Mrs. Cook. And he goes, oh yeah, Mrs. Cook. Is there a Mr. Cook? And I tell you, these kids are just a delight. And so we're pretty excited to have them here at Triton. But we also know it's a transition for them. They're transitioning to a new home, to all new friends and so forth. But we're glad they're here at Triton. And I think they have a lot of other classmates to welcome them as well. So. And I think we're getting another new student in a week or so, too, as well. I'd also like to announce that today our preschool had their Paths to Quality rating visit, and today that puts us at maintaining our current level of level 3. That allows us to accept vouchers for the On My Way pre-K and the CCDF programming, which pays over and above what our normal fee is for pre-K. This year we've had up to 11 students at a year at a time, 10 to 11 that were receiving some kind of scholarship or voucher. This year we have 7 out of our 19 families who have qualified for that and taken advantage of that. So I'm happy that we can help some of the families in our community in that way. Like Mr. Riffle said, we were able to honor and celebrate with Stacy Sheets, our school counselor for National School Counseling Week. She's done a great job of meeting with the individual needs of students and also overseeing some special programs. We've done some things this year that we haven't done before because of her, and we're happy about that. She has started last week a 6-week grief group, partnering with Dustin's Place. And so we have a handful of kids who have lost a parent and recently. And so they're involved in that, and that's really going very well. I think we've had 2 sessions now for that. We appreciate those parents for allowing them to work with that. She also had, we did something new that we've never done before. The Justice Department has a missing children's poster contest, and it involves 5th graders, any 5th graders who want to enter that. And she worked with Mrs. Van Houten in the art department to see if any students wanted to do entries. And I am excited to say that I finally have something before Mr. Riffle does. That we have a winner. One of the students from Triton was chosen as the state winner for Indiana and will go on to the national competition, and her poster will be judged. I cannot tell you who it is because this is hot off the press and she doesn't even know it yet. So as soon as she knows tomorrow, then we'll be revealing that, and hopefully on Facebook and maybe in our news note. So we're really excited about that Triton has a winner for the state of Indiana in that contest. Let's see. Again, Mr. Riffle already talked about the Late Start PD, what we're focusing on. We have several things we're going to talk about, but our main gist is how we can improve, our math data over time. We've just seen kind of we're going in the same direction, but it's not really up and it's not really down. We're just kind of stagnant. And we talked about how we can do more. We're always looking at that data, but how can we do more and really make a difference? We're going to start those conversations. We also did our substitute data as we looked at it for the first semester was the number of unfilled positions was like half of what it was first semester last year. So that really does let us breathe a little bit easier. We have some really good new subs this year as well, and we just don't have as many sicknesses as we were having last year either. But all in all, it's great to have those subs and know that many of those will be filled. That is just definitely a breath of fresh air. We have iRead 3 comp testing that will be coming up in early March. So that is for our third graders. That's a really important test that tests basic reading skills. And all of our third graders will be taking that on March, I want to say, 7th and 8th. March 7th and 8th, I think, is when we would be taking that. We have our grade 6 goes to BizTown February 22nd. That's part of the culmination of their junior achievement kind of lessons in financing, and hopefully they'll get much more experience in that with just life experiences. We have a lot of things coming up too in March, but big nights, April 4th is when we have our kindergarten enrollment night, and April 11th preschool enrollment night is coming up. So those are important things to be looking forward to. If there are no any questions, I'm going to hand this over to Mr. McCann.
Okay, for the junior, senior high school, first I just want to talk a little bit more about the management fundamentals class. So back in January, I was able to sit down with that class, and they kind of posed this question, and I went into it maybe a little reluctant, didn't know what I was going to hear. They actually prepared a really nice presentation, and you could tell that the class as a whole really put a lot of effort into it. It was a team effort, which I really appreciated. I think they would agree there were some things that I was not comfortable with. A big one was the date that they had originally picked. And some of these things are they're educational days that these organizations put on, and you only have certain days to pick from. So I did not feel like the original date would work for us, so they went back to the drawing board, got a hold of these organizations, and they made it work. So I just really appreciate their efforts, Ms. Knisley's efforts to put this together, and hopefully you guys learn a lot and have a really good time. So good job. NWEA mid-year testing, just something to see where our kids at with math, language arts, reading, and that was completed in January. We've started having data meetings where we sit down and we're looking at that data along with classroom data just to see where our kids are at, maybe make some predictions on how they're going to do in iLearn, but overall make some decisions in the classroom of how we can best meet their needs at the moment. So those meetings are taking place. We did have an incentive trip for the junior high, 7th and 8th grade, back in January, and this was based on first semester, so grades, attendance, and discipline. So we had approximately 100 students that spent the day with us at Sky Zone and Strikes and Spares just to kind of celebrate their hard work for first semester. So had a great time. I don't think there was any injuries except for maybe Mr. Yarbrough. CTE visits, so counselors working really hard right now with our CTE cooperative to get our sophomores out to the different CTE programs just to kind of let them have an opportunity to see what's available to them as they go through that scheduling process. So we're taking kids into Plymouth and they're seeing the programs and they're making some decisions. So I think that's the first time we've really at this level taken the kids out to see the programs. A lot of times we'll bring those instructors in or our director in and they talk about it, but I don't think that does it a lot of justice. I think it does it more justice to get the kids out into the program and see the space and the things they're doing. So we have a lot of kids really are interested in those programs. Let's see here, counselor department meetings. So right now, counselors, myself, and we're trying to meet with each individual department, and we're just having conversations about next year. You know, what are some things that the teachers have concerns about? What are some things that they would like to see within their departments? Maybe what's going well, what are the concerns and things we can work to improve on? So those are just really good meetings to get feedback from our teachers and what we can do to improve, and we'll try and do that with every department. Last week, as Mr. Riffle said, National Counseling Week. So I know we say it all the time, but it's the truth. We are probably beyond blessed to have the counselors we do, and I'm not talking about just the two at the high school. the addition of Stacy Sheets has been great, and I think the three of them have really come together, and they collaborate well. They're a team, and I think that helps bridge maybe a little gap that might be there between buildings. But they are just doing fabulous work, not only for staff and our students, but our community. So just kudos to them for what they're doing. Counselor lunch tomorrow. Again, Mr. Riffle talked about this, but just an opportunity for our counselors, but also other counselors just to kind of sharpen their skills and network. And I think that'll be a really great opportunity for them. February 16th, so this Thursday, our professional development day. Again, we're going to be working on our instructional model, just trying to make sure that we're being consistent and what we're doing in the classroom is meaningful, and just as a staff deciding what that looks like. So that will continue, and then just giving each department the opportunity to sit down and collaborate. I think that's something they're asking for, and I think that's also a real valuable thing to give them the time to do. This Friday, we also have a PEP session, and that's something we've tried to do about every other month. And you know what? Quite honestly, a lot of it's just let's try and have a little bit of fun. Let's get out of the classroom and try and get together as a group and have some fun and have some organized events. And this PEP session 1 will be to kick off our National FFA Week for next week, as well as we just want to try and recognize various groups throughout the building. So that would be this afternoon on Friday. Also, just congrats to our band program, choir program, as they continue to compete at the ISMA contest, working towards state. So that's what I have, unless you have questions for me. Thank you.
All right, if there's no other business, we will move to adjourn at 7:41.